I would like to start by acknowledging that we meet on the traditional land of the First Peoples of Australia, in this case the Gadigal people of the Eora, and express my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I would also say this is my first visit to this police museum, and it's a very interesting place. I've been meaning to come to one of their exhibitions from time to time because I was particularly interested that they were featuring women crime queens of the 1920s, specifically Tilly Devine and Kate Lee. And I really think they must have been the most extraordinary women. Wicked women, of course. But, you know, if you're in the 1920s, what jobs were there for women? None. Scrubbing other people's floors, perhaps, so you can understand why Tilly and Kate took to a life of crime. So it's a very historic place, speaking as someone whose family and family before and so on have always lived in Sydney. Well, I thank the New South Wales Public Service Commission for this invitation, and I do congratulate you on organising a conference focusing on this hugely important issue. Discrimination against older workers is widespread and it happens across all sectors. It has massive negative effects on public expenditure, on business growth, and most importantly, on the human rights of many older people forced into poverty and ill health by workplace age discrimination. Now, I thought I'd start by framing my reference of my remarks to a timely article published in The Conversation on April the 30th by Danielle Wood and Lucy Percival of the Grattan Institute. It discusses enrolment data in relation to younger voters and older voters. The growth in enrolment by younger voters has attracted a lot of positive media attention and favourable commentary. A good thing. And clearly, major parties have paid attention to this. It's encouraging that the exercise of our basic democratic rights and duties has been embraced by so many young people. The Conversation piece reports that in August 2017, in the lead up to the marriage equality plebiscite, the AEC added almost 100,000 people to the electorate roll, of whom 2/3 were aged 18 to 24. This was welcome. But the article also points out that around 300,000 Australians turn 18 each year, so younger voters are sort of continually being added to the electoral roll. All a good thing, and good that it's been welcome. But the biggest change in voter demographics since 2016 was the growth in the cohort of people aged 70 years and over. This fact would be news to most people, perhaps to most of you, and it would be news to political commentators who've ignored it, and even news to our campaign teams running around the countryside. For the 2019 election, around 300,000 more voters over 70 are enrolled than in 2016, whereas over the same period, the 18 to 34 cohort of voters has grown by 135,000. Well, in contrast to the great attention paid to the enrolments of younger voters, the dramatic and much larger growth in older voter numbers has received virtually no mainstream media attention. Not until the closing stages of the campaign has Labor put out policies responding to the mass of older voters. The Coalition has focused its campaigning efforts throughout on a group of older people, but that is a very small minority of older voters, those who receive concessions from property and other investments. Now, why am I raising this? I draw your attention to this contrast in media interest and policy response to these particular age-related data because it is typical that the neglect that ageism continues to inflict on older Australians. And it's not only as voters that older people are often ignored, it happens in most aspects of their economic and working lives. Hence, I thought I would raise it today. Now, as Australia's first Age Discrimination Commissioner, I soon became convinced that the discriminatory attitudes, policies and decisions forcing older workers out of jobs prematurely were responsible for a massive waste of human experience and skills and growing exposure of older Australians to poverty and ultimately homelessness. In 2015, I commissioned the first national prevalence survey of the experience of age discrimination of people over 50 in the workplace. Over 50. Pay attention. The data from this prevalence survey established that in the 12 months leading up to the survey, 27% of people, that's more than 1/4, had experienced age discrimination at work. Of those who lost their jobs as a result, 1/3, despite their best efforts, never found another job. Now just think of the implications of that. Apart from the shocking waste, this meant that many of these people, some in their mid-50s or early 60s, may have to face another 30 years of living without the support of paid work and adequate superannuation savings. Now, I don't have to spell out to this audience the related costs to the public purse in benefits, health services, housing and aged care needs, and of course, the loss to the economy of consumer spending. All employers, large and small, across all sectors, contribute to this waste and help create this unnecessary demand on publicly funded services. Now, coming to the public sector, and specifically to New South Wales government employment, the picture in regard to the participation of older workers, while better generally than in the private sector, is still one of failure to recognise the loss of workforce talent and a reluctance to put in place systematic strategies to support competent and willing older workers to continue to work. As to the service itself, the New South Wales Government, of course, is a massive employer and requires workers with a wide range of skills and capacities at all levels. Like all employers, the New South Wales Government needs a more productive and skilled workforce. These needed workers may come from overseas and, of course, from new graduates. These sources are important. But there is another potential talent pool that should be considered much more actively. The challenge. The challenge is to recognise your own older workers, understand what they have contributed in the past, and how, given the right job with the right supports, they could continue for some time to add to the productivity and performance and return on the investment their past work of many years represents. And I'm focusing today on older workers, but my remarks apply equally as well to workers with disability, another great untapped talent pool. Many people with disability have great potential value to add to any workplace, but they are often not given a chance even to get started, and we are all losers when this occurs. Now, I know that New South Wales public service managers are aware of these issues. During my national inquiry, I had comprehensive and helpful discussions with the PSC and many of your decision makers. The need to rethink how to support older workers and those with disability to contribute was not new, and many of your managers were keen to make changes. But has enough changed? I doubt it. The kinds of changes that will liberate the abilities of older workers are not radical, nor are they particularly costly. Now, I thought I'd do a quick summary of the changes that I think could be put into place. First, consultation with older workers as to their needs, their wishes to continue and their longer-term intentions. I was quite surprised to find, as I went around Australia, that such consultations were not a routine part of communicating with employees once they reach, say, 48, 50. Ask them. It's an obvious thing to say, but it doesn't always happen, and it should be part of your systematic people management approach. They often don't want to raise their concerns about ageing or perhaps needing other kinds of opportunities within the service because they fear age discrimination. And perhaps that wouldn't be such a reality in the New South Wales Public Service, but it is a very big reality in many workplaces. Now, a frequent request, once you have these discussions, will be for some flexibility. Workers as they age may do better if they can work different hours or perhaps different start and finishing times to accommodate family responsibilities or other personal issues. Some may opt, if they get the chance, for a shorter working week, for permanent part-time or for job sharing. The key requirement from the employer, as I see it, is that the work gets delivered at a high level and in a timely fashion. The time of day or the day of the week, or in some cases the location of the work, should all be secondary to achieving the required performance. Another near universal requirement, and it will be a requirement in your service, is skills training. All older workers will at some time need retraining, sometimes to upgrade and refresh existing skills, sometimes to prepare for a completely different job in the service more suited to their current and future circumstances. This training requirement should be very manageable. Indeed, continuing skills development of staff should be part of the delivery of all successful managers. Then there are the issues of job design and the matter of workplace adjustments, and there is a massive expertise to guide us here. For example, a common development in older people is some musculoskeletal weakness. This can be supported, for example, with appropriate seating, proximity to a lift, and so on. Some job redesign might be needed to relieve heavy lifting or reaching requirements. Now, other things that are common are some hearing loss or some vision loss. Now, we're living in an age where effective IT products are available to assist both vision impaired people and deaf people, and they should be offered. And where you have had the opportunity to see these technologies, you can see how transforming they are for the worker, just to have these technological supports for their circumstances. Again, not massively expensive and easily available. Government, now generally though on health challenges emerged in my research as a major reason for early leaving the workforce. I was quite surprised to find this. Discrimination was the top reason, but then health reasons. I thought, we're not such an unhealthy people, how can this be? But it happens. Often these challenges relate to diet, lifestyle, and the awareness of the need to seek medical advice earlier rather than later when symptoms appear. Annual health checkups, particularly for the 50s and up, should be offered. Such routine checks could also detect mental health issues before they turn into major problems. Now, government departments and agencies, because of their size and competence, are well placed to introduce programs of healthy living advice and similar arrangements. Now, I'd like to add to these fairly straightforward strategies for supporting workers productively as they age, recognition of the overwhelming need to tackle age stereotyping. Age stereotyping causes huge damage, and it needs to be challenged by information and communication strategies that expose and reduce damaging age-based prejudices. You know, as human beings, we're inclined to see ourselves as other people see us. Now, if a person is constantly told at work that they're getting older, that they're looking old, that they must be looking forward to retirement, even if they're only 53, all of this will wear down their confidence and self-esteem and, of course, impact on their performance. As with all its activities, the service should set targets for extending the working life of existing older workers, targets for hiring older workers, and measure both performance of both sets of targets on an annual basis. And I would like to see that managers should have the collection of this data and its constructive use embedded in their KPIs. Now, I am aware that the New South Wales Public Service is embarking on big changes in the location and design of many of your departments and agencies. I urge, while planning these changes, that decision makers take account of the particular circumstances of older workers and those with disability. I am confident that this great employer, the New South Wales Government, can find ways to ensure that all individuals with the will and capacity to contribute value to this huge workforce, which is so important to all the citizens of New South Wales, will do so if it is made possible for them. Thank you.